Alright, so UFC has announced a couple major matchups in a few of the divisions here that I'm a little behind on. So I wanted to basically give an early prediction, early breakdown, thoughts and opinions on these new matchups. And just in case if you haven't heard of them, well, I'm making this video for you guys out there, you know? Y'all motherfuckers in the back, right? Who just kind of roam around YouTube, don't really look for much, and then, you know, you see one of my videos, and then you're like, I'm gonna check out this ginger, the real ginger, right? Anyways, yeah, getting into the matchups here, I'm just gonna kind of go in them in the order that I kind of rate them in terms of least hype to most hype, at least for me personally. And the first matchup here in middleweight? No, light heavyweight is Carlos Olsberg versus Jan Blachowicz. Now, this one is, I forget what card does it say here, for March 22nd, right. So this is the official date for Olsberg versus Jan Blachowicz. January, February, March. That's 3 months away, and Olsberg just fought. I'm going to be honest. This fight is, like, kind of big for the division, I guess, because this is, like, alright, who's going to fight Alex next, I guess? Because we all know Ankalaev's going to get slept. So, in terms of Blachowicz versus Olsberg, or it's Olberg, I guess, not Olsberg, as I've been saying, I'm kind of leaning on Jan Blachowicz, I'm not going to lie. Jan Blachowicz is still good, he's got really good wrestling, and he is, like, a pretty decent opponent. I would rate him higher than Volkan Ozdemir. And while Olsberg kind of clearly won the Ozdemir fight, it's not like it was a robbery. It was very close. Like, few more leg kicks every round, Volkan Ozdemir gets that win, you know? So, I don't know. I'm not really seeing this dangerous finisher in Olsberg. And then you kind of have to, like, consider, okay, if this is the 5-round fight, then, you know, 5 rounds with Jan Blachowicz, he's used to that, you know, especially at elevation. Not saying that this one's at elevation, but Jan Blachowicz has been to elevation, and he looked fine. Arguably did the best against Pereira that anyone has done in the UFC, except for, obviously, Adesanya getting the knockout, but even he was losing that fight until he got the knockout. But regardless, yeah, Jan Blachowicz, he's still a dog, man. These old vets, I know he's 41. He's going to be 42 by the time this fight happens. But he does have that legendary Polish power, you know? The Polish power, you know? From Poland, you know? But yeah, it's rough. I just don't see Olberg as, like, this crazy, like, up-and-comer young blood in 205. And he really isn't a young blood, you know? He's 35. Sorry, 34. He's about to be 35 next year. So, like, I get it. He's younger by almost 10 years, and he does look good in every fight. But, man, I don't know. Like, it's really hard. Like, his best win is definitely Ozdemir, but, like, you know? Like, oh, wow, you KO'd Alonzo Meadowfield, you know? Dao Woon Jung, wow, you got a submission, whoa, crazy, you know? In the 3rd round, you know? Like, I don't know, man. I think Jan Blachowicz probably whoops a lot of the young blood nowadays, so I'm leaning on Jan Blachowicz. I could change my mind, maybe rewatching some of the fights. I know he's coming off injuries as well, like surgeries, and I know it's just been a little bit since he's fought last. I think it's been over a year, right? When was his last fight? 2023, July. So yeah, it'll be close to 2 years. It'll be close to 2 years since he last fought. Ugh, I don't like that. I really don't. But Jan Blachowicz is still good, you know? He took Ankalaev to a draw. You know? Like, but Ankalaev is shit. Like, here's the thing, man. You know? But Olsberg probably doesn't beat Ankalaev. Jan Blachowicz, I think, in a rematch does beat Ankalaev. Right now. I'm leaning Jan Blachowicz, but I'm kind of excited. This is kind of big for 205, you know? Kind of who's going to get executed by Pereira again? Will it be Jan Blachowicz the rematch, or will it be Olberg, the new blood, I guess? getting executed by the Alex Portan Pereira, you know, Shum. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a big matchup. I'm just not all that excited for, because I'm kind of expecting Oldberg to not look that great. Like, I'm not expecting, like, a Kyle Brahalio, Jared Cannonier fight. I'm expecting more of Ozdemir Oldberg 2 if Oldberg wins, and then maybe even a fraud checking from Jan Blachowicz. That's kind of how I see the fight. But moving on to the next fight we got going on. Nasruddin Imavov versus Israel Adesanya. I'm going to keep it a buck. I hate Israel Adesanya, right? Completely hate him. I hate that he's a drunk driver. I hate that he's kind of cringe. You know, I hate that he's a doggy diddler. Literally has a video of him jerking off a dog. I don't like the narrative he spits out, like Down with Monster and all that. I'm a huge fan of Monster. You know, Monster, if you ever need a sponsorship, let me know. Anyways, yeah, I don't like Israel Adesanya, but I'm gonna keep it a buck. Right now, currently, as I'm sitting here, disliking the Stylebender, absolutely thinking his career is completely overrated, one of the worst champions of all time. His legacy is literally Marvin Vettori. Decent win over Robert Whittaker, to be fair, but that hasn't really aged the best, because Robert Whittaker, while he's a good gatekeeper, he's losing a lot now. You know, don't like that. Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa, Yoel Romero. Tell me one name on there that's like a decent level opponent. Just one of those names, you know? Robert Whittaker is the best one he had, and that was like 5 years ago. That win was the best win he had. Other than that, not really great wins. A no-look fucking hook that he threw on Alex Pereira, where he's literally just winging shots, hoping for a KO. Wow, you know? Crazy. You know? Got his ass whooped by Strickland for 5 rounds. Because he didn't have 2 bowls of cereal that morning. And then DDP kind of made it close. And this is kind of what I think, right? I think when Israel isn't the champ, or isn't worried about a belt, like genuinely isn't worried about a belt, and is more or less fighting, like he fought DDP mainly because of the race war, not really for the belt. Obviously for the belt, right? But like, the real name here is just like, you know, who's the true African king? That was like the whole narrative between the two of them. So I think he wanted a personal win over DDP more than the belt, because he doesn't really give a shit about the belt. I would wager Israel probably doesn't really give a shit about the belt at this point. I think when he's trying to win a fight, he does look much better, and he was winning rounds on DDP. And there was moments where, like, he kind of was getting successful on DDP. Like, there was moments where it's like, okay, a few more shots, and, like, DDP might, you know, DDP's got to back up here, you know? And while Strickland was having the same effect on DDP, you know, it's just, Israel's got to get exposed in the grappling. And I'm just going to keep it a buck. I think Imavov sucks cock. Like, I think he's dog shit. I think Imavov is genuinely one of the most overrated fighters in the ranks right now. Like, I think he's actual horseshit. Very close fight on Roman Dolidze. Honestly, you could rewatch that fight 10 times, or I would rewatch that fight 10 times. I couldn't tell you who won that fight, ever. It would be a different answer every single time. You know? I could even say the judge won the fight on the fucking fight. It was that shit. Both of them were gassed. It was terrible. One of the shittiest performances I've ever seen in my career of watching UFC, you know? Jared Cannonier win was a good win. Kind of an early stoppage. But he probably would have won the decision anyways. So I'm not like, whoa, you know? But it is Jared Cannonier, you know? Like, it is a 40-year-old man at the end of the day. He beat Brendan Allen? When the fuck was this? Wait, what? Why am I gapping this? Why do I just not remember this at all? He beat Brendan Allen? What? Huh. I just don't remember this fight at all. What the fuck? Anyways, regardless, I think Amavov is shit. I do think he's garbage. I don't think Brendan Allen's that crazy. I don't know how he beat him. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that fight. But currently, right now, I am actually picking Israel Adesanya to beat Nasruddin Imavov, and I'm like 70-30 on this fight. I'm fairly certain that Israel's gonna beat Imavov. This is like a beatable opponent for him. You know, I know a lot of people are like, well, Imavov's got decent ground game. I mean, Israel doesn't have the worst ground game of all time. You know? Like, he can defend takedowns. He did survive all the way till the 4th with DDP. I think Imavov gets finished in, like, round 2 to DDP. Like, I do think Imavov is shit on the feet. And I do think, while he might have the power advantage, I'm not too worried about Israel going 5 rounds with Imavov. If Imavov looks anything like he did in the Dolidze fight, then I think he's just going to gas in round 2 and get finished. Not finished, sorry. I think he's just going to lose by decision after round 2, you know? I could see Imavov winning like round 1 and 2, and then Israel just picking up 3, 4, and 5. Just because Israel's like more tested in 5-round fights. Imavov is kind of like, yeah, 4th and 5th round are really risky for Imavov. He did finish Jared Cannonier, but again, like, Cannonier's old as fuck. You know? He is just old. And he did almost get shinned in his last fight against Kaio as well. And I don't think Kaio has crazy power either, you know? I think DDP at least has, like, really good... I think DDP has really good power, and I think Adesanya at least, like, survived some shots. You know, while he did get knocked down, at least he survived shots. You know what I mean? I don't think Imavov survived shots off DDP in the 3rd and 4th round, you know? I don't think, you know, didn't Strickland beat this guy in, like, round 2? Oh, no, it was a 5-round decision. Right, where he gassed and he looked like shit. And that was only 2 years ago. Ah, man. Like, his performances are just, like, not that good. Where at least Israel is, like, maybe he's behind on the scorecards a lot of the time. Like, Sean Strickland fight, he was just trying to look for a highlight. Pereira, he kind of locked in and was like, alright, I'm just going to throw as much heat as I can while not looking and hope his head is there. He was whooping Pereira for like 3 to 4 rounds. But it was drained Pereira. Like, this is the thing with Adesanya. He's not that good either. But he is like... like, I don't know. I'm leaning Israel. I think it's 70-30 in my opinion, for me personally. I think Israel's got a good shot at beating Imavov. If Israel Adesanya is an underdog, I'm not a gambler. I don't bet on fights. I make that disclaimer in every single video I make. As far as like predictions, I wouldn't mind Israel Adesanya as a dog. You know, he's not like like Israel Adesanya is still like an elite kickboxer, right? He does just like let rounds get away from him. Imavov doesn't have any sense of like, I need to go this round. I need to get a takedown at the end of the round. I need to land a few more low kicks this round. He doesn't feel like he has that. He feels like, oh, I'm up in the round, I'm gonna cruise these final 2 minutes, you know? And if there's an opening, I'm gonna take it. But like, Adesanya is really good at not giving a fighter openings. You know, I think this is a style clash. I think this is Imavov probably just like being slightly down each round, and I think Adesanya is going to be up on the cards. I really do. That's the way I see it, at least. You know, I think this is a beatable matchup for Israel. I think he's going to win, and he's not going to have to get cut. However, I will be rooting for Imavov because I want him to knock out the doggy diddler. I think Israel actually beats Imavov, personally. That's just the way I see it. Big fight, though. Big fight for middleweight, I guess. Anyways, moving on, we have... actually, this one is, like, it might be my favorite announcement. Shara Bullet versus Michael Venom Page. Now, I'm really high on both of these guys. Right now, I'm curling my toes. I know you can't see me because my face cam broke, but right now, I'm curling my toes and fucking bobbing them up and down. That's how excited I am for this matchup. I really like MVP. I really like watching his fights. His last fight was a stinker. Where he got his back taken in the final round, and he just kind of lost the fight off that. Other than that, I mean, he was kind of exposed for being a counter striker. He does rely on someone to Counter-Strike, basically. But MVP showed at least decent takedown defense. He just doesn't really have much utility in terms of, like, getting back to his feet. Decent ability to, like, stop the submission, but I think ultimately that's just because of his build. Like, he is kind of Megamind looking, you know? Like, he's got long, scrawny arms that I think are very hard for him to, like, keep underhooks and shit. Like, I think it is hard for him to, like, get up from a takedown. But Char Bullet's not going to be shooting a fucking takedown on MVP. I'd be shocked if he does. Despite his name ending in an ob and him being from Dagestan, he's not one of these grapplers. He is a striker. And while he did just knock out Armin Petrosian in a sick fashion, decision to McCall, don't like that. Almost the decision to Turkali, where Turkali literally didn't even throw a single strike. And the decision on Bruno Silva, where he was getting taken down constantly. MVP could win this fight just off shooting a takedown. I don't think he will. I do think MVP's got sneaky submission game. He just needs to be... You need to make a mistake on the ground, and MVP will capitalize on it. Ian Gary didn't make a mistake, he just pulled guard, and it's like, oh, now we're on the ground, I guess. And that was the whole, I guess, round 2. But Michael Venom Page was whooping Ian Gary on every single striking exchange they had. And MVP almost got Douglas Lima'd. And if you don't know what I mean by that, basically, MVP got knocked out. I think it was his first time getting knocked out, where he was trying to get up after, I think, slipping. And as he was trying to get up, Lima threw a fucking right hand, and it caught him right on the jaw and knocked him out cold. But that was a long time ago. I'm not too concerned about MVP being chinned, even though he is 37. A lot of these karate guys have good chins, you know? MVP, 37, I think he's got a decent chin. I think he showcased a little bit of that in the Kevin Holland fight. And I'm going to get into that Kevin Holland fight in a second. But the Wonder Boy, I think, actually has a really good chin as well. I mean, when you're against Buckley and Buckley lands a clean fucking right hand while your head's against the cage trying to run away from him, yeah, any human being dies in that scenario, so... The fact that Wonder Boy could even fucking consciously, cohesively, you know, feel his surroundings after that right hand is a surprise to me. But I think MVP can survive whatever Shara Bullet has. Shara Bullet, while he is getting knockouts, right? They're not good knockouts. Sorry, they're good knockouts, but they're not good opponents that he's knocking out, right? Like, he's not knocking out McCall. He's not like, he's taking Turkali to the 3rd round, you know? Petrosian was having a lot of success and then got knocked out, and that's kind of why I'm really, really worried. I think MVP whoops Petrosian, just being honest. I think MVP whoops McCall. I think MVP whoops Turkali. I think he finishes all these guys in the 1st round. And MVP's a really good counter-striker. What does Shara Bullet do? He tries to apply pressure very early, and when he's on his back foot, that's kind of where he's dangerous. I don't see him getting like a spinning back fist head kick KO on MVP. I think MVP is going to make Shara Bullet impatient as shit, and because Shara is very egotistical, I think he's going to try to like, okay, nothing's happening, leg kick, or he's just going to sit there and wait. And if he's going to sit there and wait like a Ian Gary, he will just lose the round. Like, MVP did win a round on Gary and made the other one pretty close. You know, arguably this should have been a split decision either way. Right? Like, 1st round was pretty close. MVP was winning the striking exchanges. I think it was just Ian Gary landed a little bit more. But Ian Gary was taking more damage. And Ian Gary kind of showcased a better chin, I guess, against Shavkat for the few strikes that Shavkat was throwing. I don't like... Shara Bullet is also Ginger. Gingers notoriously don't have great chins. We know this. This is just a genetic debuff that we all have. It does suck that he is Ginger. If Shara Bullet wasn't Ginger, he wouldn't have the power to finish opponents, but he'd at least have a better chin. He does, like, even for a Ginger, though, he seems pillow-fisted. Ooh, it's the problem, right? I'm fairly confident in MVP. I'm, like, 95% on MVP here. I just can so see, like, Shara Bullet getting impatient, shooting for a low kick, putting his hands up, and as he puts his hands up, MVP goes in for a clean 1-2 down the pipe, and the 2 lands, and it just completely knocks out the guy who can only see out of one of his eyes. I can just so see it. Yeah, I think this is gonna look like a Whitaker versus who's that bum he fought? Ikram Alaskarov. I think it's gonna look like that, where it's like, okay, Charbullet hasn't really lost, you know, but very close fights, and I think MVP is just gonna find the striking success that other people have got on Charbullet, and I think MVP actually has the power to finish him though, even at the old age of 37. I do still think he knocked down Kevin Holland, and he is really good at getting people on the ground without getting takedowns. Like, he's pretty good at tripping you without you thinking that he's tripping you, you know? Like, he's really good at stepping on that foot, oh, you fell down, you know? Or like, 1, 2, oh, I missed? Alright, I'm just gonna nudge you with my shoulder, and now you're on the ground. And if Charbullet goes on the ground, he's not getting back up, you know? MVP could just take top control, and then Charbullet's fucked. So, that's kind of how I see the fight going. I think MVP wins this easy. I think he can win anywhere. I think he could win by submission if he wants to. I think he could win by knockout, and I think he could win by decision. I don't think Charbullet's that good. Sorry, I think he's good, right? But MVP's like a different animal, you know? If Chara got like Marvin Vittori, I'd probably pick Charbullet. MVP's not a good style matchup for Charbullet. Charbullet strikes me as a guy who's like, I want to fight. But that's not always a great thing to want to fight against a counter striker, you know? So, I think we're going to see MVP take control of this fight pretty early with, like, an early knockdown, or, like, an early wobbling, and Charbullet's not going to respect it, and he's going to be normal Charbullet and try to get into the pocket. And if he tries to get into the pocket with MVP, I can so see MVP just, like, 1-2 down the pipe, or a clean, like, backstep fucking uppercut, you know? Backstep hook over the top, you know? I can just so see it. Anyways, yeah. Next fight, already spoiled it. Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis for the title of UFC 312 in February. Pretty excited for this fight. I do think the closest decision of all time is Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. In my books, you give the title to any of these men. Because if there's ever a time you give 2 belts because the fighters are equal in terms of comp, I think this is the fight. I think these are the fighters. Sean Strickland was up on every round except for 1. And fucked up DDP's face, black eye, bloodied nose, arguably wobbled him sometimes, but you could say not. And then if you're on the DDP side, DDP landed a really good cut, I think just above Strickland's eye, that caused a lot of blood to come out in round 4, and it's probably the only reason why he won round 4, because the takedowns weren't really doing anything. He did get 1 or 2 clean takedowns. So if you want to rate takedowns a little bit more than striking and pressure, then maybe you do give it to DDP, and I completely understand why you give it to DDP. However, the first fight, I do think Sean Strickland won the fight, and I do think this one's close. This one, the first time I saw it, I was like, this is a coin flip fight. Someone's going to die by their sword. They didn't die by the sword, but it was a coin flip fight. I think this fight is going to be similar, but this time someone's dying by the sword. I think someone does get finished. I think Strickland's gonna get the finish. I think Strickland has a sneaky good chin. Like, he did get knocked out by Alex Pereira 3 years ago at this point. That's aging really well. It's Alex fucking Pereira. And his only other KO was to Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, which is one of the most explosive first-round fighters. And it was a spinning wheel kick. That is knocking out any human being in existence, you know? Yeah, so only other time he got knocked out, right? So it is just like, Elizeu's not like a bad loss, you know? A lot of people are like, oh, well, he did, you know, he has lost to some no-names. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos isn't like a no-name. He's a good fighter, you know? And then, wow, what do you know? Kamaru Usman at fucking welterweight, you know? Elizeu at welterweight, you know? Ponzinibbio at welterweight, you know, by decision. Young Strickland 10 years ago. Wow, bro. You know, like, those aren't bad losses. Jared Cannonier was a straight-up robbery, in my opinion, and the judges do have something just against Strickland. I think this time around, Strickland will try to go for a finish, and I think he might get it, only because of how shit DDP... I don't think DDP's actually going to be that hurt, actually going to be knocked out. I think it's going to be one of the cases where DDP's going to go down in a really bad way, and the ref is just going to stop the fight, and then we're going to get a trilogy match. That's how I think this fight is going to go, personally. I think it's going to be a TKO via early stoppage that everyone's going to complain about. And I think Strickland will get the belt back. But I am like, if DDP wins, I'm not going to be jaw-dropped. DDP's a great fighter. I just think the first fight, if Strickland doesn't get cut above his eye, and I know it's like if, right? But that cut could have been from a headbutt. I don't think it was, but it could have been from a headbutt. If he doesn't get cut this fight, and they have normal judges who are actually objectively scoring the fight, I think Sean Strickland does win the fight if he just doesn't get cut. He showcased he's got great takedown defense, and he'll get up from the takedowns. Not worried about him getting submitted. Could he get chinned? Maybe. But DDP was landing flush head kicks, and Strickland just ate him and kept on moving forward, you know? And I think Strickland's going to be up on numbers again. And I think if Strickland's not getting bloodied in round 4, where half of his face was covered in blood, which the cut was in round 3, so all that blood should technically be scored for the round 3 cut, because it was a cut from round 3, and not like a new cut in round 4. It's just the same cut that's bleeding. I think that's the only reason why the judges gave it to DDP. Truly. You know, I think in round 4 and 5, I think they're Strickland rounds. And I think the only reason why they didn't give it to Strickland was because that cut was open and bleeding profusely. And they're like, oh, too much blood. I'm going to write that down as a DDP round. And while it is a close fight, and I do think there's a good argument for both men, I'm on Sean Strickland's side. I do think Sean Strickland gets it done. I do like Strickland in this matchup. I think he's good, man. I think he's really good. But yeah, anyways, that's all the matchups I wanted to break down. You know, pretty big fight for light heavyweight, Carlos versus Jan Blachowicz. You know, right now, early prediction, Jan Blachowicz. Moving on, we have Nasruddin Mavov, Israel Adesanya. Early prediction, I'm actually going with Israel Adesanya. Shara Bullet versus MVP. I think MVP wins that easy. And Sean Strickland versus DDP. I think it's a coin flip, and my coin landed on Sean Strickland by a early stoppage. That's my early predictions for all the fights and all these new matchups coming out next year. Next year is looking to be a banger. Really excited for all the UFC fights. If you're new around here, I daily upload. You know, I'll get back to streaming eventually. Once I get my schedules organized, I guess, and face cam and a few other things done. But regardless, if you're new around here, click that subscribe button, notification bell, because I daily upload. And if you want daily MMA content, hey, you know your boys around here getting an empire built. Alright, but yeah, with all that being said, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. And as always, I hope you have a good day and a Merry Christmas.